Hey guys, this is Eliot Marshall, former UFC fighter, and this is the Gospel of Fire, where we're going to go through the fire to learn the best way to live our life.
We are live, guys, at the Gospel of Fire, episode 10. I am here with the UFC Lincoln Fight of the Night winner, Cory Sandhagen. What up, Cory?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. Let's talk about, God damn, I don't even know. Where do we even start with that fight? Where do we even start?
The whole thing was chaos, dude. From the beginning bell to the end. And here we are both thinking that we're about to go out. I'm about to just make this fool look dumb with my striking. And then just chaos for the next 7 minutes.
Chaos. Especially for the first minute. For those of you that didn't see it, all right, let's talk about what this is. Cory is a fucking ninja. Like a fucking ninja, you know? I was not ready for, I don't think any of us were ready for what was going to happen. Like, he had a couple exchanges, and then you got an underhook, you tripped on the fence a little bit, and then he just hit this ninja move.
Yeah.
Right? A ninja flying triangle to armbar combination. How did you feel when that got locked up?
Dude, it snapped on so fast, I didn't even have time to tap. Like, it would have been better off for him if he would have slowly wrenched on my arm, but like, it was just a bunch of scrambling and fast forward, and then I'm on my back with my arm extended and trying to figure out what my next move is about to be while I'm getting my nose bloodied open by his heavy... I don't even know how someone can hit that hard in that position. But.
Right? Because what normally makes the shots knock you out is like the rattling of the head.
Yeah.
But your head couldn't rattle. Like, your head was stuck on his leg, so there was no real movement of your head.
Yeah, it was insane. And then just eventually, I remember him hitting me, and it was so hard that like the lights above me went all blurry. And now I was like, oh shit, now it's fucking blurry, and now I have to deal with this too. And then I like somehow get his leg.
But your arm was trapped too, so let's be clear for everyone. Like, your arm was stuck in an armbar too. Like, your arm was breaking.
Yeah. And then somehow I was like, all right, let's try to peel this off. And then it was still blurry when I was on top. First few shots I threw on top, it felt like I had just got water splashed
Could
in
you
my
hear
eyes.
me and Christian giving you instructions on the defense or no?
I heard you a little bit say get to your stomach or get your legs underneath you or something. And then I tried doing that. That's when I was able to peel the leg off. And then
when you got a hold of his foot, right?
Yeah.
So you got a hold of the foot that was in the triangle. For those of you that, this might be too technical for some of you. If it is, go watch the fucking fight. You get a hold of his foot. And once I saw you get a hold of his foot, I knew you knew what to do from there. You know, I think it was kind of cool. I actually texted Jason. He went over that in his seminar, and we drilled it like a little bit afterwards. Like, we just like touched on it.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't even know if you remember.
I don't remember.
But we did. Right? We touched on it a little bit the next day, you know? And you grabbed his foot, and I was like, oh, okay, I think... Well, I guess you didn't know what to do, but it worked.
It worked, dude.
You grabbed his foot, and you were able to open the triangle, and then... then it was even more chaos.
Dude, then it was just like me and like just seeing red. I was like...
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, blurry red.
His face is bloody as fuck. Like, there's just blood pouring down his face, you know? And I try to pride myself on being a decent coach. I won't say a great coach. A decent coach in the fact that I don't say punch him. I don't say pass his guard. I give like, hey, left hand, you know, what I want. You know, an actual instruction. It was all out the window. I was just screaming, fuck him up, Cory! Fuck him up, Cory!
That's all it was, dude.
That's all
for me, too. If you would have given me any technical advice at that time, none of it would have registered. Because it was just, I was just seeing red. And I was just like, all right, you better put it on this fool for doing that to your arm.
Because you were down. You were down big at this point, right?
Yeah,
like,
I was,
If you would have just had a whatever, he won the round.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah, I was in it for 2 minutes.
You were in it for 2 minutes, and that was big trouble. It wasn't a little trouble. It was big trouble. After the fight, I look back, people were texting me to throw the towel in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'll never throw the towel in on a submission.
No
way, right? Like, that's your choice. I can't make that choice. Like, if you're so beat up that you can't consciously make it, then yes, that's a corner's job to stop a fight.
Like him at the end of the
Yes, his corner should have stopped that shit.
Yeah.
You know? But you got out, and then you just fucked him up.
Yeah, bro, I brought the thunder after that.
It was so intense. I don't think I could have coached again. Like, if you would have taken your fight, that exact fight, and put it first, I don't know if I would have done a very good job with Drew.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It was exhausting, man. All I remember, too, is when the round ended and me going to the stool and me being like, all right, well, That was nuts. And then he's still in this, like, daze of, like, kind of rage a little bit. But then you and Christian both going, like, look at him. And he wasn't even at the stool yet.
He was still laying down.
Yeah.
Like, Iuri, I mean, more fucking credit to him, right? To actually get up off the stool. That, like, 20 seconds into the break in between rounds, he was sitting just where you got done beating him up.
Yeah.
You know? And he got up, got back to his corner. I watched it. They gave terrible. I mean, I didn't understand what they were saying, but they were just screaming at him. It was awful.
Yeah.
They looked like me and Christian, you know? And I think one of the funniest points for me and Christian, anyway, like looking back on it, was so everyone understands when you corner, 2 guys are allowed to go into the cage and talk to the fighter in between rounds. However, when there's a cut, only one of the cornermen can actually go in because the UFC has a cut man go in to take care of the cut. So both cornermen can't go in. So Christian and I were like, we need a cut man. Christian goes to me, we need a cut man. I was like, okay, we need a cut man. And like, who's going in? I don't know. Are you going in? I don't know. I'm going in. You're going in. Like, it was total chaos.
Dude,
it was total chaos.
Yeah.
So, but as great as that was, and as amazing of performances that you've had recently, I'd say your last 4 now, right? Mm-hmm. The 2 in the LFA and then the 2 in the UFC.
Yeah.
Have just been amazing performances. It's what all of us saw in the schools.
Yeah.
That wasn't always the case for you.
No.
I can remember coaching you and watching you going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
me too, man.
Yeah.
Me too. I would get done with the fight and be like, you whooped his ass, but you fought like a pussy. Yeah. In my head, because I know the caliber that I can fight at.
And sometimes you didn't even whoop people's ass.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd win,
also,
right? You would win, but it wouldn't be like this Cory that we saw. Mm-hmm. And then you lost.
Yeah.
Right? So let's talk before the loss. What would go through your mind, if you can remember, in your fights when you weren't getting it done? You were undefeated, so let's not say not getting it done, right?
Yeah.
But what was going through your mind when you weren't getting it done like we all and you knew you could?
Don't lose. That's it.
Don't lose.
That's all that was going through my head, is just don't lose. And it was just like all this pressure to go out and be myself. I knew that I was supposed to be this like amazing next coming thing, and all I could think about in the fight was stay undefeated and don't lose. And that's it. And it did not make me perform well at all.
It froze you.
Yeah.
It froze your mind. Because you were thinking the negative.
Yeah.
And we do this a lot with ourselves, right? Like we think like, okay, well just don't let that happen. And I can remember one time I was at Jackson's and Cowboy was fighting a wrestler. And he was kicking a lot. It was the beginning of, we were both fighting on the same card, I think. And he was kicking a lot and he was getting taken down by all these guys in practice. And I looked at Greg and I was like, hey man, when do you want to tell him not to kick maybe? And he goes, Fire Marshal, when you tell people not to do something, they do nothing.
Yeah, that's totally true.
To me, that's what it kind of looked like in your fights.
Yeah.
Like, no, I didn't know what was going on in your head, you know? But the don't lose would freeze everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a terrible way to go into a fight. I have the same mentality where it's like, I am going to go in here, and I shouldn't have said what I said maybe after the fight, where it was like, I'm going into this fight and I'm not losing this fight, because that's not really where my focus was. That was just best as I could describe it in words. It's more like, I'm doing whatever it takes. I'm doing whatever it takes. And like, before, that's not what it was.
Right.
And there's very big distinction between do whatever it takes and don't lose.
Well, you're looking both at the same result.
Yeah.
Like, don't lose and do whatever it takes. You get the result the same, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you don't lose and you do whatever it takes, both ways you're going to be the winner.
Yeah. One doesn't even really focus on the result.
Yeah.
Do whatever it takes.
Do whatever it takes.
In each moment, and that will get you the result that you want. Where don't lose is all result-based, which is terrible.
Let's talk about the result-based stuff. I had somebody break it down like this to me once. Events plus responses equals outcomes. Right, you know? And there's 2 things that you have zero control over. You can't control events and you can't control outcomes.
Yeah.
Right? Like, those are both just things that happen. Mm-hmm. The only variable there that's yours is response.
Yep.
And sometimes what sucks, especially with this don't lose response, is giving a good response does not always give a good outcome.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, I think, to wrap your head around. And if your arm would have moved another half an inch, that ref probably would have stopped that fight.
You think?
Did you watch it again, buddy?
Yeah, I guess I did.
Did you see any still pictures? Your arm is definitely hyperextended.
Yeah.
The ref's job is to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. You would have been upset, probably.
Yeah.
You know? I couldn't have complained.
Yeah.
You know, as the cornerman with, you know what I mean, like not in the fight, I couldn't have complained if your arm went a little more. I couldn't have complained if the ref stopped the fight. You would have had a dislocated arm.
I guess I'm surprised to hear it because it never even crossed my mind to tap. It wasn't even like, oh, like I'm going to lose this fight now. It was always just like, all right, problem solve your way out of this. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. It was never like tap. It was never I'm going to lose. It was never I'm losing. It was just, all right, this is the problem that you have right in front of you. Figure it out without getting choked.
And I want to say that was like if you had the don't lose mentality, you would have tapped.
Maybe.
I think you would have.
Well, I wouldn't even be
just
here.
because you would have been focusing on the tap, on the losing.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, here it is. It's right in front of me. I could lose right now. Fuck, I'm gonna lose. Shit. I don't think that people understand how special those decisions in those moments are. Henzo talks about it when Sakuraba broke his arm. He said that was his most proud moment in fighting. Because the decision was right there in front of him. It was right there in front of him to give up. And no one would have looked down upon him. No one would have.
Yeah.
And he just chose not to.
Yeah.
He just chose not to. He just said, this is the day I get my arm broken. I've always talked about it. And now here that day is in front of me.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, now that I'm reflecting on it, man, because I mean, you know my fight style. I'm like the technical guy in the gym. Like, I go out and I try to make this look as artistic and as pretty as I can. And here I am walking into this fight thinking that that's the way that it's going to be. And I didn't even know that I had that in me, really. You know? Like, I know, and it's nice to know that I do have that in me. It's just another tool at the end of the tool belt where, like, when things get ugly, like how it did, I know that I'll have that inside me, which is cool to learn about myself now that I'm reflecting on it.
I said this to you the other day. I'm a believer that you have to earn that every time.
Yep.
Like, that's not you. Like, I think this is sometimes where people fall short, is they're like, oh, I was tough. Mm-hmm. And they think they always will be. I want to say that shit is earned.
That shit is earned, and
every camp.
Every camp.
Every day of your life, who you are is earned. You can't rest on the laurels of what you did yesterday. Like, look, you had a great fight. It's over.
Yeah, it's done.
It's over. We're going to rest, right? You're going to recuperate, but then you got to earn it again.
Yeah. And I'm going to work harder, man. I don't like having a comeback. That means I had to come back from something.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
I don't think people can understand the emotion of fighting. It's so, and we're raw. We're right after it, right? We're 2 days. Yeah. We're 2 days after it. I was wrecked on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was emotionally spent and wrecked. I had to have 4 coffees.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. Like, one of them I had at 4:30 in the afternoon. I had a fantasy football draft with my kid, you know, with my son. So I had to, like, be paying attention for him. And I was like, man. And, like, he's seeing me make this coffee. He was like, Daddy, don't keep me up all night if you can't sleep, you know? And I was like, yeah, I hear you, but, you know? The boredom of fight week.
Yeah.
It's so boring.
Yeah, it sucks.
Right? It's nothing. Like, you do nothing, right?
Yeah, if you don't know, dude, it's like you show up on Tuesday and you're hungry. Like, the last week of losing weight, I don't care how much weight you're losing. Usually it's like, I don't know, hopefully 10 or 15 pounds or whatever. But losing that sucks no matter what. You show up on Tuesday, you can't eat until Friday, and you sit in the hotel room hungry, or you walk around and see some stuff while you're also still hungry.
For like a little bit.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, oh, man, wouldn't it be cool if you were in a cool place? I'm like, no, it doesn't fucking matter, really.
Yeah.
You sit in a hotel room. I've fought in cool places and done fight trips in really cool places, and I've done fight trips in shitty places like Lincoln, Nebraska. And it doesn't matter. You're just in a hotel.
Yeah.
And the intensity starts building, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you go to the locker room.
Yeah.
You know? But it's still kind of boring. You're still just waiting a lot. And then all of a sudden you walk.
Yeah.
Like, you go from 0 to, like, the most intense experience a person can have within, like, a minute.
Yeah.
There's no ramp up.
Yeah.
There's no ramp up. There's no, like, nothing. Would you agree?
Yeah, man. It's this, like, trying to keep something off of your mind when it's not supposed to be on your mind. So controlling your thoughts in a way where it's like, okay, I don't need to be obsessing over this, like, how I'm going to slip the jab and then counter him afterwards.
On Wednesday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, Wednesday at 3 o'clock.
Right.
Or even worse, like, Thursday night at 2 a.m. when you just woke up to go to the bathroom. You know?
Right.
Like, controlling those thoughts and putting them in the back, or not putting them anywhere, just letting them float by, and then being like, all right, well, now it's time to, like, be here, and
now I gotta slip that fucking jab.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Like, so that's a hard thing, right? Like, I like what you just said there. You said not just putting them in the back of your mind, because when you try to put a thought somewhere, then you're just, I mean, that thought is going to fucking hook you.
Yeah.
And then that's it, man. That you woke up to take a piss and now it's slipping the jab, slipping the right hand. Like, you're just fucked, right? Letting it float by.
Yeah.
What is that like? How did you learn to let it float by?
I guess since I lost, I've gone on this whole journey. I lost because I was not mentally strong in that fight. That's why I lost. And I wasn't mentally strong even in the fights before because of the mentality that I had. And I was a hard worker, and I always did everything right. And I remember specifically afterwards, me and you, I was crying in the back, First Bank Center. Mm-hmm. Me, you, and Christian were there, and I was like, I don't get it. Like, I do everything that I'm supposed to do. I'm not a bitch in the gym. And in that fight...
But you're not a bitch in the fight either, though.
In that fight, I went out to not lose, but anyways... I lost that fight because of a break in the brain. And it wasn't anything he did. It was just on my own. Just went out, didn't know what mentality to fight with. I was fighting with the wrong one.
You told me when you were upset when we were sitting in the back, you said, I didn't even want to be in there. I would have rather have just walked away.
Yeah, that's what it was. And that made me realize that I'm not in control of these thoughts that I have. So then I started seeing a sports psychologist, but along with that, I started reading spirituality books and self-help books and things like that. And one of the most important, I would say, first steps that I made in this like whole, I don't know if you want to call it a spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, this thing that started from this existential crisis of like, why am I even fighting? I didn't even want to be in there. Should I even do this again?
We talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I remember talking to you a lot about it.
But the biggest thing for me and my biggest first step is when I read The Power of Now. And in The Power of Now, it goes, you are not your thoughts. And we identify with our thoughts. Everyone identifies with their thoughts. But I'm not like a dude. And I'll go ahead and speak freely. I've had some pretty fucked up dreams before, you know, where I'll wake up the next day and I'm like, how is that even in my consciousness? How is that even in my head?
Fuck about a dream. You've had some fucked up thoughts.
Yeah.
Right?
I just didn't want to say that.
No, it's okay. Hold on. Let's talk about it for a second. I'll admit it. You're driving down the road and you see somebody walking and you're like, what if I just swerved my car into that motherfucker?
Yeah. And you realize in those, and it just clicked for me where it was like, that isn't me. Then like, who is that?
Right.
And like, what is the person behind that that's watching that thought happen? Where I'm realizing that this thought that I thought used to be me, I'm just watching that. And I'm like, well, who is the watcher then? And that's when I was like, all right, there's something bigger going on in life.
And it's kind of cool that we don't know what it is.
Yeah, we don't know. And the religions try to name it. Everyone has their own names, archetypical, like we were talking about earlier the other day, about archetypes and how different mythologies and this and that try to name all of these things. But, like, there is no name for that watcher and that, like, peace and the love and the joy that comes with being able to just watch your thoughts.
And the sadness and the suffering.
And the sadness and the suffering. Yeah, because there can't be love without suffering and sorrow.
We talked about this. I didn't know this. I always thought you still were until this weekend. You used to be religious.
Yeah, I would identify with you.
Yeah, I'd identify with being religious. And you said you let that go.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not on here to bash religion. You know, I had Vinny on, I had Neil on, who are very religious guys, and we find some common ground. What is it that you let go of? What is that religious thought doctrine that you let go of to be able to, I don't know, see it differently for you?
I let go of the identification of the whole thing. Like, you tell someone that you're a Christian or you tell someone that you believe in God, both of those words are so loaded, man. What I was knowing about, like, this, like, peace and this, like, the watcher that's behind it, it wasn't described incredibly well by the Christian church. For me, you know? And that's why I was doing this, Joseph Campbell, he came up with the hero's journey. It's just a bunch of steps that, like, every kind of great story goes through or similar steps that every story goes through. But I was writing it one day in the coffee shop, and I named my archetypes too. Have I told you this? Everyone has so the ego and demons and suffering or whatever are all just names of things. But I thought it'd be fun because it helps me understand if I would just name them. So, like, I have, like, Samson, who's, like, the angry tiger inside of me, who, like, wakes up a little bit pissed, a little bit grumpy, who's, like...
Is that who we call the dark passenger?
Yeah, that's what you guys call the dark passenger. But I got control of him now.
All right.
But that's Samson, and then I got, like, Lionel, and Lionel's, like, the little voice in your head. He's, like, a frat boy. He doesn't want you to be as great as you can be, so he's, like, like, fuck you, man, like, always making fun of you and calling you whatever name it be. But I have all these archetypes, and as I was writing writing this story for myself, I'm coming to the conclusion that the biggest monster and the biggest identification that I have is with Christianity, because I will defend it. And I was like, what am I even defending, man? Like, but then as I'm at this coffee shop and I'm realizing that, like, this is my last big identification, because in Buddhism it says you have to let go of all needs if you want to be enlightened, and you have to let go of all attachments if you want to be enlightened and have no more need, because every need is just an ego that needs to be fed. And I had this need to identify with that. And then in that moment, as I'm writing the story, I have to meet Jesus on this cliff and push Jesus off, because it's like, hey man, like, I'm letting go of you. And as I push Jesus off the cliff, he grows wings, flies away, and says to me, now you can finally be like me. And that's the end of my story.
That's cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was a nice little experiment.
Yeah. Experience, maybe.
Yeah.
For me, I thought I had my weakness figured out, you know? And then I was literally sitting down to do this podcast. It was my second one by myself. And I was going to call it Scream Your Weaknesses to the World. And as I'm like, you know, I don't like to write things down, you know, so much when I do stuff like this. Like, I don't write any questions down to ask people when I have them on the show or anything. I like to just kind of do like a thought experiment through it. And as I was thought experimenting through it, I was like, fuck. I don't think what I was going to talk about as my weakness was my weakness. I think my weakness is that I have this need for people to like me. Mm-hmm. And because I wasn't liked as a young kid, you know, like all the way up through like 18, I didn't have friends that, you know. So I had this need, and like people started liking me when I started getting tough. So I just screamed that I'm tough to the world.
Yeah.
You know, screamed it, and it just, it was crushing me.
Yeah.
Right? It was crushing me. And then when I figured that out, you know, it was like 3-4 weeks ago, a month ago, it's been a little difficult, right? It's like, even when you are aware of it,
yeah,
like even when you push Jesus off the cliff,
yeah,
it's not like it was just like, oh, shit's all better and fucking hunky-dory now, right? Like, you've got fucking work to do still, like, on yourself. It doesn't end, you know? And I keep seeing more things like when my friends get upset with me sometimes about whatever, you know, like, as everyone does, as life goes. I think it's the worst thing in the world. I'm like, this is it. They're not going to be my friends anymore.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's totally what happens to me. Because literally I had that.
Yeah.
I picked my nose 2 times in like 7th grade. I had some friends, I picked my nose, and then boom, it was done. They just fucking wrecked me.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
Years. And so I associate back with that all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm aware of it now, but it doesn't mean it's easy, right?
Yeah, totally.
Doesn't mean it's easy, man.
Yeah.
How's it been? You're a different fighter. You're a different person. We used to see that joke of like the dark passenger, you know? That he used to come out and practice sometimes.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get it under control. We would sometimes just have to pull you from sparring. Yeah. You know? Like, Cory, you know, like fucking scream it, you know?
Yeah.
And then you somewhat snap out of it. I haven't seen The Dark Passenger.
I have control, man. I killed my egos, and granted, I still battle with them.
Right.
But there's a cool deity in Hinduism who I really like. It's Shiva. And Shiva, without going too much into it, Shiva has the serpent around his neck, and the serpent sits around his neck, and it's just the understanding of like, this is my ego and I'm in control of it. Because if you don't know your ego, then you're really fucked. You're not even on step 1. You're gonna accidentally fuck some people over because you don't know your ego. If you know your ego, if I know my Samson and I know what upsets the tiger, I'm gonna keep fucking Samson away from that stuff. And I'm gonna be like, hey man, like, someone's gonna maybe come in later, dude.
I fucking love how you named it.
Dude, yeah, bro. We have Charlie. We have all kinds of... We have the interviewer. We have Jerry, bro. They're all up there. You think I'm like schizophrenic or something talking about it. But literally, bro, that's what we kind of all are, dude.
I get it.
We have all these uncontrollable voices in our heads where it's like, if you're not watching them and making sure that they're in check, then you're really fucked. Then you're not even in control. Then it's the voices that are in control. And Dark Passenger is under control now.
Yeah.
He doesn't like some people, though.
You didn't even go Dark Passenger in the fight, though.
That was about as close to Dark Passenger.
Yeah, but you were totally controlled.
Yeah.
Because if you would have gone Dark Passenger, you can only go Dark Passenger for so long. You don't have 7 minutes of Dark Passenger, bro. I don't think anybody does, right? Like, that would crush you. You would have come back on that stool as exhausted as he was.
Yeah.
but you weren't there. You were still in some sort of control.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, even though it was verging right there, you know, even though it was right there, I mean, like, that's what shows the most to me, in my opinion. Like, and I texted you about it the other day. Like, that was fucking special.
Yeah.
You know, like that. I don't like that word. Sorry. That was very unique. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't like special because we think we're special, and then that can go a whole other way. Well, maybe I'll do a podcast on special, but that was very unique. That I would say 99% of fucking people in the UFC don't even have. That you got fucked up for a minute, 2 minutes, and then you went immediately to fucking him up.
Yeah.
And you did not have an adrenaline dump.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was good to go.
Yeah, you were good to go. And if Samson would have said hello, then that would have been the end.
Yeah.
That could have been the end for you. You know?
Yeah.
And maybe you both would have crawled back to the center of the ring, you know?
Yeah. You know what's funny is I had a moment in between the rounds where you guys were telling me what to do, and you were like, okay, what are you going to do? And I was like, in my head, I was like, because it was such like a funny moment looking back at it, I like take a deep breath and I'm like, I'm going to pick and pull. Because I knew at that moment, I was like, damn it, I'm gonna actually listen. And I was like, but I'm not going to fucking like it, man. I want to take him down and I want to keep doing what was from before.
Oh,
but you guys
shit.
said, just pick and pull. And in my head, I'm like, you're going to listen to that. But I don't know. That was cool, too, because I never had that experience either. Where before I would have just been like, fuck these guys. I'm doing what I want, you know?
Right.
But it was like that control that I had. It was like, all right, listen to them.
Yeah, it was good. You know, it was amazing, you know? The last thing I want to talk about, and I heard a little bit about it. It's hard, like, when I think the stadium can hear your interview, maybe, and that TV can definitely hear what you say. I can barely hear shit what people say in an interview when I'm in the cage with them. But I think Paul Felder asked you, like, what's next, who's next, or who do you want to call out? And you said, look, man, this is just like a part of my life. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, I love doing it. It's an honor and a privilege. You said something to this effect. What did you say?
This is a small moment in my life, and this is very cool, but the people that make my life are my team, my family, and my friends. And, like, I understand that I'm 26. If I'm lucky, I have like 8 more years in this, and that seems even like, especially after like 2 days after like that chaos.
Right.
Like 8 more years of doing things like that seems completely out of the books for me. But
well, hopefully we don't do too more.
Yeah.
You got fight of the night, homie. Let's not get many more of them.
We don't need any more
performance
comebacks.
bonuses. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
But that's what it is, man, is that, like, fighting is just, like, a small part, and that's why I love this team so much, is because I believe most of us are on board with the idea of fighting is very cool, and we're going to be as good at it as we can be in our careers, but what matters most is when we're done. Like, when we're done is what matters most, and the caliber of human that you're going to be and the amount of control that you have over your ego and the light that you can shine on other people from going through such, like, a crazy sport for years and years, like, that's the important part, so.
Man, I said it with Neil, and I'm going to say it with you. I'm super blessed in my life right now that I just feel like everyone that I'm working with is, like, that I'm working closely with. You know, my fighters that I'm working closely with and my jiu-jitsu fighters that I'm working closely with, the people at the school. We've been able to find this bigger purpose with our life, right? This actual thing that we're doing right now, it matters. But what matters most is that every day it's a step towards a good person. Mm-hmm. And every day, just like in your fight, you're going to have to earn that again, right? Like we talked about earlier, you're going to have to earn the right to be able to fight through what you fought through. We have to earn the right to be good people every day. There's no rollover minutes.
Yeah.
You know? There's no rollover minutes, extra credit that I built up from yesterday that lets you take today off. You know? So I appreciate that. I told you in the airport, I think, man, I thought we were going to get in trouble in the airport, right?
For what?
The weed, man.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I gave Cory I always travel with some marijuana. I gave Cory a little bit, and then when he brought it back to me, because he was feeling it a little bit, he brought it back to me, and it's like I unplugged my vape and it smelled, and it was like really reeking. And the next thing we knew, this cop was walking over to us, and I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, but he was just getting a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I was nervous too, man.
Yeah.
That was really terrible timing. And
Right.
I was like, all through my head, I was like, oh shit, Nebraska.
Right?
I was like, Nebraska's
We're
probably really
fucked.
hard on
We're
it.
fucked.
Yeah, I was like, we're going to jail.
So, but anyway, I said it to you right before that maybe. I don't know how long I'll coach, you know, but I'll coach you as long as, and it's not saying this to everyone, I got 3 or 4 and that's it. I'll coach you as long as you'll let me coach you. You know?
yeah.
So I appreciate it, man. You're the fucking man. If people could see what we saw this Cory in the gym all the time. You know, and we did not see this Cory in fights all the time. What the world is seeing now is this Cory. They don't understand that this trip you went through.
Yeah.
You know, so let people know, man. Share your story so that they know, like, look, everyone's fighting something. Not everyone's going to get in the cage and fucking punch people in the face and get their arm broken and then fuck people up, you know. But everyone's got a fight to have. And if they can know, I think your story can help them in that they can know that you can overcome things even when everyone's telling you how great you are and then you don't live up to it.
Yeah.
You can figure out a way to get there still.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Final notes, I guess, is just that, like, not everyone is LeBron James. Not everyone is Michael Jordan. I was not. I have a lot of skill and I have a lot of talent, but, like, mentally, I had to work for that shit harder than I had to work for anything else. And that's what I attribute my success to.
Fuck yeah, man. Tell everybody where they can find you on your social media.
My Instagram is CORS.LIFE. Coors Life. I don't use Twitter, so just Instagram.
All right, guys. That's it for this episode of The Gospel of Fire. I think it's episode 10. You're my 10th episode, so fuck yeah. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of The Gospel of Fire. Hit me up on my social media at FireMarshal205 on both Twitter and Instagram. Give me a follow at my fan page on Facebook, Eliot the Fire Marshal. Give a subscribe on iTunes, on Stitcher, wherever you're listening. Throw a review up there. We'd greatly appreciate it. We'll see you on the next episode.